Hey, deserving listeners, 90 Day Fiancé, Brandan and Mary. Let's check it out.
Because she's a female and she has friends possibly that might come over.
Both of them have friends. So the mom lives with friends and the sister might have friends that come over. Yeah, it's very controlling and abusive. Awful. Okay, so she's having her reactivity right now, which makes total sense in this instance. That's pretty hurtful things that the mom is saying.
Babby, are you okay? Babby? Babby, you gotta talk.
And also the rejection that could be felt by him and her. I don't know if she cares about rejecting Mary, but for him, he could feel like, really? You did what you did throughout my life, and now you're just gonna come in here and just call my relationship with someone that I love dearly as being not beautiful and ridiculous, and that's gonna hurt. That hurts, that you wouldn't take the time to listen to me or care about my feelings. You don't like this relationship, so it doesn't matter what I want.
To me.
Okay, I understand them. I understand they don't like me in the first.
Now, on the other hand, people in the comment section maybe, and the mom could make a case for, it's not that, I'm not saying it's not beautiful, I'm saying it's abusive and controlling, the way that you, Kirk, have been talking about, because it looks like that. So I'm trying to get across to him that he is a victim, and if he decides to have more contact with her, it could become even worse. He could become gaslit and have a whole lifetime of being abused by her, which is possible given what we've seen. So if that's the case, then yeah, but that's a different approach and a different conversation than the one that they're having.
Mary's very upset and crying over what you guys are saying.
What we're saying is not invalid.
In my opinion, you're choosing Mary over your family.
Well, so his brother is probably parroting what the mom is saying, or at least feeling. So the brother didn't come up with that himself in all likelihood. Although it could feel that way to him. But at the very least, it sounds like all the family, the siblings and the mom feel that way. Which, I guess, yeah. Well, it's that way. Well, okay. If I were the mom, regardless of what I'd done in the past, I'd be pretty pissed if my son had a girlfriend that didn't allow him to come over to my house for fear that he might get together with one of my roommate friends or one of my daughter's friends, and how ridiculously jealous and controlling that is. I'd be pretty pissed about that. But given what I know about things, I wouldn't go on a warpath about it. It's unfortunate, and this happens a lot on the show where people say, she's making you choose between us or them. Well, kind of, but you're a part of that equation. Because if you adjust things a little bit, like it looks like it's okay for you to come to him, maybe there's some arrangement that can be made, or at the very least, you can, even if your contact with him goes down a little bit, you're not losing him, you're just not seeing him as often. So you could frame it differently, not that you're losing Brandan, but it's just a temporary distance until Mary it feels more secure. Instead of coming down hard and with this hard line of either you leave her or what, we leave you, or I don't know what's happening.
I miss my brother.
I miss you too, JJ.
You shouldn't be so willing to throw us away.
All right, let's cut the bull crap. I haven't been inside of your guys' life most of your life.
Okay, interesting. This is his anger coming out, I think, and probably also unfair, because it's not like the brother and sister made choices such that Brandan isn't, I'm pretty sure this probably hits them pretty low, pretty hurtful, particularly to the younger brother, because they lost him. I'm guessing that they had a bond, maybe even a very severe bond, intense bond, and for Brandan to be like, oh, fine, now you want to be with me? Oh, la-ti-da. When the sister's like, wait, what? What? Am I being blamed for what mom did? Now, the mom is the primary speaker, I think, or at least one of the primary speakers against Mary. So Brandan could say this to the mom. It would be pretty awful to say this, and again, very hurtful. But I think he's resorting to this because it's being modeled to him of this sort of extreme way of conflicting and talking and debating. And he probably doesn't have a way of communicating. Like, okay, an I statement that he could say, you could pause it and think for yourself. So I'll let you do that if you want to. And what he could say is, well, family of mine, this hurts my feelings because for you to say that my relationship with her isn't beautiful is pretty hurtful and dismissive. And I'm hurt for myself. I'm hurt for Mary. I'm also angry because now I'm going to have to help Mary recover. I'm going to have to recover from what you're saying. You're basically you're the ones putting me in a position where I have to choose between Mary and you. It's not Mary right now, it's you. I mean, it is Mary, but it's also you. So I'm angry at everyone, and I'm hurt, and I feel like no one's listening to me. Can't you just, I'm working on something. I love her. She has issues for good reasons, and we're working on it. And I see good futures where everything will be fine. But I need this because I've never had someone like her, and I think we have something special. Now, my therapist mind looks at this relationship and sees probably not the healthiest, optimal relationship unless the two of them engage in very intense individual and couple therapy for the next 15 to 20 years. In all likelihood, this relationship will flame out quite spectacularly. They will learn a couple things, maybe go to therapy a little bit. The next relationship will be a little bit more or significantly more healthy, but maybe not tremendously so. That's usually what happens in these kinds of situations. So I'm not saying somehow that everything is likely to work here, because at the very least, from the sounds of it, she's never had a sexual relationship, but she's had exes, and he has had exes. But this probably is the first major relationship that they've both been in. I don't know, at least one of them. And it's not typical that our first relationship out of the gate is the one that lasts forever. Anyway, but yeah, so now I think he's resorting to this because he's been getting a lot of what he's been getting, and it hurts his feelings.
Cut the bull crap. I haven't been inside of your guys' life most of your life.
You're right.
Another factor could be, I wonder if for him, his regular life over the last 8 years and even in the last year doesn't involve these three people hardly at all because of the disconnection or whatever, maybe even his own choice or his own pain or who knows. And the production called them and said, ooh, we got to have that family talk. It kind of looks like his godparents don't want to be on camera, right? So they always have to have that scene in 90 Day Fiancé. So they call up the family and they agree, and the production's like, jackpot, okay, we got that scene. And they say, okay, we're going to do this thing. And the setup is that it's a family and they're talking about this. But for him, he's just like, I don't even know why they're coming over here because they're not a part of my life. They haven't been for 8 years. And then they sit down and maybe they've been coached by production a little bit, or they've been having these feelings, but there hasn't really been a lot of venue for it. I mean, so that could be another factor of that the issue of Mary preventing Brandan from even going to see his mom could be such a small issue on the table that Brandan might be like, well, I would only go to see my mom once every 9 months anyway, or 6 months anyway, so it's not that big of a deal, honestly. It's still a problem, but so I wonder if for him he's just like, let's cut the bull crap. These people behind the camera told you to be here. You're saying this shit. Like, I don't understand. We barely ever see each other, even if I wasn't with Mary. And now all of a sudden you're judging me and judging my relationship.
Okay?
You're 8 years older than me, which means we haven't always been close. I know that. And then foster care. And then you moved away. And then you showed back up with me.
Did she say he's 8 years older? Interesting. So she's 15. She doesn't look 15, which is a common thing. She doesn't talk like she's 15. When you have parentified kids, then you will see things like that, particularly the oldest. She's been the oldest in more recent years, right? He was the oldest. And you could argue he speaks a little older too. I mean, I don't think people would call him a super wise soul, but he's 20. When I was 23, I didn't have these kinds of thoughts in my mind, this kind of race to the finish line in terms of life and getting married and all this other kind of stuff. But anyway, so for her, she for many years, 8 years, has been the oldest and maybe has been parentified, so she is more talking like an adult. So 15. Interesting.
And I was so fully supportive of you and your guys' relationship because I knew that that's what you wanted. Until it got to the point where it started being personal. Christmas Day, you had to leave because you were making food with me. For some reason, she didn't like that. Like, I want to be able to spend my holidays with you.
Okay, so this communication is much more healthy. To call their relationship not beautiful is not advisable. But she's saying, look, this happened, and she's not saying it directly, but you hear it of, it hurts that I can't spend time with you. And it's concerning to me. That's fine. That's not debatable. It's probably not even necessarily hurtful to him. Mary might even learn a thing or two of just like, oh yeah, maybe that was a thing. So, but putting that aside, so thumbs up to sister, but we're hearing, at least from the sister, and we can imagine this happening, that over Christmas, he's at her house, at the mom's house, and they're making cookies or whatever it was, and Mary is there on the video call, and Mary gets concerned about something. Now, it's also possible that the sister said something against Mary and something escalated, but we could also imagine that Mary could literally just feel like weirdly triggered of the sister and worried that underneath some subconscious blankets that he is going to get together with his own sister or something. I don't know. And maybe Mary has some traumas around that sort of thing in her real life. I don't know. But if true, then yeah, yikes. But I don't know. We didn't hear the specifics.
Like, that's what I look forward to, that kind of stuff. And I want you to be able to spend those kind of events with her, too.
It's not fair, Brandan. I understand that you love her and that she loves you and you guys want to make this work, but you do have a family. She doesn't get to have you all to herself 24/7. It's not right.
She's controlling you.
I'm not saying that she's a horrible person, but your guys' relationship is pretty toxic.
Okay. Yeah, it's a little bit better what they're saying. And then she's about to say, tell your family I'm not the toxic one. Yeah. I can see why you wanted me to watch this.
Your family, I'm not the toxic one.
Toxic is when she doesn't want you around another female that's your mother or your sister. She's not looking out for your best interest. She's looking out for her own interest. It pisses me off.
Yeah. I doubt this works, because if it did, then I don't think this couple would be on this season, right? Because we're early in the season. In fact, I think we're on episode 1. Still on episode 1, which of course is not entirely about this couple. And yet I've been yammering. There's just so much to say. I promise I will not yammer as much as we go forward. But I'm guessing this will end and he will leave, and then we'll see what happens there.
Look, I get where you guys are coming from. You're concerned for me. You don't want me to be unhappy. But in order for all of us to feel better about this relationship, I have to be there in person. We're going to be together.
Yeah, you're going to go over there and you're going to be with her, and then that's the end.
Okay, you hear that in her voice. The mom, that's what's fueling it. I think I said that. I was thinking it at the very least, that for the mom, in all likelihood, she has a lot of traumas, not only the trauma of losing your kids, which is one of the worst traumas you could possibly have, and it being your fault, or you feel like it's your fault, but in all likelihood, there's been abandonment going back throughout her whole life in some shape or form. And you hear that, at the very least, we know that she lost him when he was 15, and that pain, right? And then that black and white thinking, which it goes hand in hand with a lot of addiction and a lot of trauma and a lot of triggering, that Mary is a hostile element in the relationship. Even if the mom did everything perfectly, Mary would be a hostile element in the relationship between Brandan and his mom. And so that hostile element, even if there was no Mary, the mom would be very insecure about her relationship with her son for a lot of, I think, understandable reasons. And I'm guessing that Brandan isn't super warm to the mom. I don't know that, but it'd be weird if he was. I don't know that. It doesn't look like he's super warm to his mom. But anyway, so the mom doesn't have a lot of reassurance that things are going to be okay. And then Mary comes along, and the mom thinks she's doing the right thing by standing up for her son and pointing out the bad things and sticking up for him. But it's just driving him potentially more towards Mary, or at the very least, it's burning a bridge between her and Mary and potentially her and Brandan. And then at this last moment where he, in a pretty mature, differentiated move, just speaks for them in a healthy way. It's like, okay, I get it. You're concerned about me. You're worried about me. And, I appreciate that. They didn't really say that exactly, but it's interesting that he, maybe parentified, would try to rise above it and take care of his own mom. And then the mom is sensing like, crap, I'm losing the argument. What I'm looking for, and this is always the thing with power struggles that you want to ask yourself in the middle of it, or maybe later at the very least, what was I expecting to happen? And that's what I would ask the mom. I'd be like, okay, so in that conversation, so say, they separate, say, Mom, in that conversation, what was your hope? Now, often there'd be this long diatribe of some sort. I'd be like, okay, and what were you wanting to happen exactly? Because in all likelihood, what the mom wanted was that Brandan would say, you know what, Mom, you're right. Mary is toxic. Mary, I break up with you. Hang up. Mom, I love you. It's not uncommon for someone in the mom's position, regardless of differentiation, to want that. And if you have that in your mind and you're not exactly aware of that goal consciously, and you're not aware of how ridiculous it is, then you're going to operate on the assumption. It's sort of like if I'm at dinner and I want my wife to pass the salt, then I'm going to say, hey, could you pass me the salt? Because I am very I'm very optimistic that she will pass me the salt. People often engage in power struggles because they believe that it's going to work. They believe like, well, if I just lay it out and just really go after him, then sure, he'll break up with her. But the more rational part of them, the more differentiated part of them would say, well, yeah, that probably isn't going to happen. And this is part of differentiation. A major element of differentiation that I have to talk about is goal-oriented, which means something differently today, or goal-directed behavior, I think is the exact phrase by Murray Bowen in the 60s and 70s. And that phrase refers to what I'm talking about with the mom of, okay, what's my goal in this moment, or before she sits down, be like, okay, I want to really let him have it, but okay, what's my goal here? Well, I want him to break up with her. Is that reasonable? No. It's not reasonable as a goal. I don't have any control over that. Okay, so what's reasonable as a goal? Well, okay, I don't want to lose him. Okay. I don't have any control over him. I don't have any control over her. I don't have any control over their relationship. What do I have control over? Well, I have control over myself, and I don't want to alienate him. I also don't know if they're going to be married for the rest of their life, so I shouldn't alienate Mary. Okay, I want him to break up with her because she treats him badly, but I don't have any control over that. So what's a reasonable goal? A reasonable goal is that I want him to know that I'm worried and that I see toxicity, but I don't want to hurt his feelings, right? That's another goal. So then the individual, the mom, sits down and behaves in a certain way, directed towards those reasonable goals that her differentiated mind established, or might have established in the moment, or might have established as a campaign months earlier, instead of engaging in a power struggle that seemingly was operating on the optimistic assumption that he would say, you know what, you're right, Mary, you're done, hang up. Because that's the way she was talking, right? Because if I could play this for her and say, well, look what happened. He pushed back on you. He is digging in further. Mary now hates you. He's going to be with Mary. He's way closer to Mary than he is to you. Mary is going to be a constant voice in his head and in his ear about how horrible you are. And where are you now? You're worse off. You came to the table trying to fix things and you made it worse. Is that actually differentiated behavior? If we could walk it back, but on your drive over, we could have predicted that this would happen. That's another part of differentiation, is being able to predict reality rather than what you hope to be true. Differentiation refers to a lot of differentiating, but one of the differentiations that is a part of differentiation is the ability to differentiate between the way things feel, or the notions that you have, versus what your mind evaluates about that. And so you will have this feeling of, well, Mary is a bad thing for him, therefore he will believe that, and I will just say it to him because I don't even differentiate between me and him, because I don't even imagine other people have their own minds and their own experience. I feel bad about this, so of course he does, and so I'm just going to bulldoze forward because the way I feel is the way things are going to be. That's lack of differentiation. That's the way 3-year-olds are, right? When a 3-year-old is wanting something, or a 18-month-old wants something, and things are going well, actually. When you raise kids in a healthy way, they're very undifferentiated and will just, the whole world is a crap when they feel like crap, and the whole world is a joy when they feel joy. Well, over time, you learn to differentiate. It's like, oh, well, actually, I have feelings and other people have feelings. I have thoughts, other people have thoughts. I have a point of view, other people have a point of view. I have my assumptions, but I'm not inside other people's experience, so I don't really know. That's differentiation. I want this to be true, but they don't necessarily want it to be true. How do I navigate that? That's differentiation. Okay, well, that does it for that episode. Everyone, please take care of yourself because you deserve it. You really, really do.